This is a guided wisdom well meditation to help when we hit that wall of no energy, no motivation, when there are things we want to do, but we just seem to find other things that feel more important, like numbing out, doom scrolling, watching series. Let's do a guided wisdom well to look inside, to bring that to our wisdom well for clarity, for insight, to enlighten the part of ourselves that are craving the water of wisdom. So to do this, I invite you to sit comfortably. And the first part of building our wisdom well is dig. And in order to dig your well, we want to be honest with ourselves about how we are really feeling. So think about your not following through, you're not taking the action that you want to take. And as you consider that, notice what happens. And let's agree to be kind and compassionate with ourselves, that we are creating a safe space in this guided process. So you're taking a nice breath. You are bringing your attention into the body. You are inviting compassion. And then you are noticing what happens when I just don't want to. So when you consider that hesitation, that resistance, that low energy, the I don't want to feeling, however it shows up for you, call that in right now and notice the response in your body without judgment, without trying to change it in any way. Notice and describe the physical response in your body. Is there a tightness or a heaviness? Is there a sense of pressure anywhere? Are you feeling this more strongly in the throat area, the chest, the legs, the abdomen? There's no right or wrong answer here. There is only you providing space for yourself to dig your wisdom well. And if you need to pause, to journal, reflect, to take more time, please do so. How does your body respond to I just don't feel like it. I just don't want to. Perhaps you had some time in your diary and then you procrastinated and then you avoided. Revisit that now. Bring it to your wisdom well with kindness and compassion, for all parts of ourselves belong. So notice that, describe it for yourself, not so much as story or thoughts, but more as the physical description, the sensations and the way your body responds. Remembering my open and closed teaching, or discovering that for the first time. That when the body, heart, mind feels a closing of any kind, a tightening, a heaviness, that does not mean anything is wrong. It does not mean, no, don't do that. It's not an intuitive no. It is simply, here there is a lack of clear seeing. Here is where the water of wisdom is needed. Like a loving gardener would walk around the garden, it's not judgment to say that plant needs water. Let's dig a well. We find these parts of ourselves that are closed, that are heavy, and we lovingly realize and notice that is the part of me that is not seeing clearly. That is a perspective that's lacking enlightened seeing, clear seeing true seeing and being. That is all. And when we do our wisdom well meditations, we are looking for clear seeing, and we're noticing how closed turns to open. And now the second part of the wisdom well is to ask. This is where we create the bucket that we're going to send into our well. This is where we formulate an intention, because intention guides attention. And attention is what chooses what we are tuned into. So if we have our attention only on the surface mind, it's like dragging the bucket through the ground and only getting dirt. When we set our intention to send attention deeper, to find clear seeing wisdom that is within us, we are directing that bucket inwards. So set your intention now. Here are some possible questions, but you are most welcome to pause and formulate your own question. How does deeper wisdom see my not taking action? What is the deeper truth about procrastinating or avoiding or not following through as I meant to or as I wanted to? And remember, this is with compassion, no judgment. This is a guilt-free zone. So we set that intention that we want to see with our true eyes as our true eye, that there is a deeper, truer state of being that is not even a state, it is a true nature that sees through the filters and the layers of personality, of mind, of emotion. And we are setting an intention to see from wholeness, to see from openness, to see from wisdom. And then we move into step 3 of our wisdom well, which is now we open to wisdom. This is where we are tuning in and translating subtle knowing. And I invite you, as we open to wisdom, to breathe slowly, to move slowly. And yes, thoughts continue to stream, and we have no problem with thoughts. Yes, emotions move through the body, and we have no problem with emotions. These are like songs playing in the space. But here, the invitation is, I am not my thoughts. I am that which is the space where thoughts arise. I am not these feelings. These feelings are within me. I am not locked and bound within them. And I open now to clear seeing and wisdom, that I might drink from my wisdom well and see for myself, gain understanding and insight for myself about not taking action, not following through. Now, in this guided process, you can pause at any time to continue to allow thoughts and ideas to come from openness. And like opening a tap, in the beginning, there is this question of, is this thought a true reflection of intuition and wisdom, or is it just ego? Is it just surface? And my suggestion is, from many decades of working with this and learning to build my wisdom well, that you admit the words will always be limitations and limited. The translation of wisdom is never 100% accurate, and that is okay. And second, that we test the words for whether they open us or close us. And when you find words, symbols, insights, understanding that begins to give you relief, that feels in the body like lightness or opening. That's how we know the bucket is filling with water. That's how we know the translation is true. Also, we want to stay curious. This is not something we force. It takes some patience. It's like waiting for thoughts and ideas and insights to arrive. Also, be careful not to try and make this a performance or to expect Hollywood. Clear seeing, even the most profound life-changing seeing, is as ordinary as bringing water to a dry garden. Also, don't expect that wisdom is translated always as clear dictation. Sometimes the translation is a song that shows up and we think we're just distracted. Meantime, the lyrics of the song are the message. Sometimes there is not so much words, but more of a felt sense of something dissolving. Something either resolves or dissolves. This is time you give to yourself to drink from your own inner wisdom. So you are free to pause, to do that now, to write freely, let words and ideas just flow. Or continue as I download and as I start to translate for us some insights about this very common human experience of not taking action and not following through. First is to notice when there is no energy to take action, to notice whether that felt sense of no energy is being fought against. That often when the tide is low, when there is a need for natural rest, that the mind produces a thought of, I'm not productive. When you had the expectation of wanting to produce and to fill the time with usefulness, but you are met by a low tide. And then to add to that low energy is the resistance of the low energy, which not only depletes the energy even more, it sets up a closedness because it is simply not true that always your tide of energy must be in full flow. That just like nature has ebb and tide, that there is a natural energy replenishing withdrawal to balance against times of great output, times when you are giving more than receiving, times when you are holding space for others, times when the demands of your day have meant that you have exceeded your energy output thresholds. And then when a gap arrives, your body, your mind, your heart, your energy system naturally move into a low tide. But instead of honoring that, and instead of giving yourself full permission to fully empty so that the tide can return again, you introduce thoughts that provoke guilt and resistance and inner judgment. So consider whether that is in fact what is occurring, that you meet a natural low tide and don't respond to it with natural low energy, rest, recreation, to do nothing productive, to do nothing useful, and to do so with openness because it is a natural requirement. If that is true, give yourself the gift of dedicated ebb and tide cycles, knowing and trusting that the energy will rise again because you've allowed it to empty completely. And that any kind of resisting of the emptying completely is going to delay the natural process of restoring your energy. Secondly, notice if you are carrying others' songs that are adding to the energy depletion. And how you can check this is with the words, just me, setting an intention to let go of anything that is not yours. Try that now. Just me, just me. Releasing others' songs, emotions, burdens, expectations, especially if you've been caring to the point of carrying, holding space. If your role is such, give yourself relief now. Return to just me. And notice if there is a change. As you set your intention, just me, notice if there is relief or if it remains the same. If there is any kind of relief, then you may have also been carrying the songs of others, the songs of their nervous systems, their emotions, their personalities, their perceptions. And let that go now. Just me, just me. And now, thirdly, if you think about taking the action that you want to take, and there is still some kind of resistance, find the closing feeling. The ebb and tide natural low energy is low energy with openness. The carrying of other people's songs is burden and closedness. And if you've checked the first and the second and there is still something blocked, something heavy, that means there is a perception, there is a belief, there is an understanding that is lacking wisdom, that is preventing your natural flow. When we discover that despite checking our energy, giving ourselves rest, letting go others' songs and burdens, that there is still a pullback, a contraction, a heaviness, then it is helpful to ask ourselves, if that closeness could speak, what might it say? What is the thought that shows up? What is the perception? Sometimes it is a fear of failing. Sometimes it is a fear of success. Sometimes it is a what if thought. What if I take action and there's a consequence that I don't want? Sometimes there is the lingering question of what is the right way to take action. Whatever you discover when you pause to notice what is causing that heaviness, think of that as a part of the garden of your life requiring wisdom. And ask yourself, what is the deeper truth? What is the clear seeing? Experiment with swapping the words out. Perhaps instead of I have to do this, I choose to do this. That might shift from a closed to an open, which tells you that I have to is not deeply true. It reflects a lack of seeing that honors your being. Whereas I choose to may produce openness because it reflects deeper wisdom. Experiment with the words and find the words that open you, because those are the words that are translated wisdom. And when a pipe is closed, it cannot flow. And when we move from closed to open, we either have a lack of energy because it is a natural tidal movement of depletion, where the pipe is empty on purpose to replenish and restore, or it is an open pipe with a little trickle because there's a block still. And when energy naturally rises, because we have no inner obstacles, we have no part of ourselves seeing and perceiving with a lack of truth, your energy will rise naturally. The energy to act, the inspiration, the creativity, and the river of life will flow. It flows naturally. Sometimes when we ask the question, what is the right way to do this? The block is the question. Does a river ask what is the right way to flow? Does a river hold itself back for fear of meeting the rocks and the waterfalls? Or does the river trust, when I am aligned to my deeper truth, the flow naturally increases and therefore will find a way around the rock, will find a way over the waterfall. And there is not a right way down the mountain for the river. There is just life flowing to meet with courage what is in the way. And you tuning into your wisdom and turning closed to open as a gift to yourself, drinking from your wisdom well, is how we, number 4, live what we discover. How we invite the truth that we are equal to all the mountains, all of the rocks. In every moment of every day, there is a natural movement. And it is not so much that we take action, it is more like action flows through us. That the river of life always has a natural way to move. That I don't puppeteer my hand to move, that somehow it moves. And one of the most beautiful things we can give to these precious lives of ours is to drink from our wisdom well and to discover that life knows how to live, how to work, how to move, how to care for the body as best it can, how to create, how to lead, how to coach, how to teach, how to call the rain for our apple tree nature, how to resolve and dissolve, how to move over the obstacles. And then the mystery of who is the real doer becomes an interesting question. And the ego doesn't always like the answer. But the deepest freedom can come from laying the burden of doership at the feet of life, and to realize truly, like an empty hollow reed that the wind sings through, that wisdom, when lived, can make space for more life, more tidal ebb and tide movement of energy to work and live naturally with joy and inspiration and love.